So, greetings, hi, greetings Pisces, that's you. This is Tarot Lumination with your love and relationship report for February 2018. Okay, we're going to use that crucible spread that we've been using for pretty much since the beginning, and we're going to stick to it. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, and we're going to work on the understanding that there's you, there's the other, and then there's the third entity called the relationship itself. And in a healthy relationship, a healthy, loving relationship, both parties willingly and consciously and deliberately conduct themselves through the relationship itself, as opposed to face to face. I know that sounds strange, but you'll get it in a moment. Cards were well shuffled in advance, no reversals. We're just going to tell a simple story, and you're going to reinterpret it to suit yourselves. And of course, do the routine, your cross-watching, and your sun, moon, and rising, and all that, okay? Cards were well shuffled in advance, but I like to go to the last second so that you're a witness, and we do things open and clear and simple. All right, Pisces? So here we go. Cards are now clear. Okay. Let's cut it up. All right. Please understand that we're kind of blessed by angels here, and you've got yours, and TL has angels too. We're just going to share, all right? So this would be your love radiation type energy here, relationship energy, pulsing out of you like a radar beacon, like a transmitter. And over here would be the energy of a significant other. They are also transmitting and receiving, just like yourself. Over here would be going deep into yourself, and over here would be going deep into the other. We're going to the point where we might not have any understanding of the language here. And over here to the core, the relationship itself. Now, hopefully you can see here the shape of a crucible. The crucible is a very sturdy container that can withstand intense pressures like they use in chemical and physics laboratories for conducting tests. And in relationships, we intimate and we separate. We intimate and separate on a continuous, never-ending basis. And we need that container in which to intimate and separate safely, deliberately by choice, so that we're not left wandering around, floating around, living a relationship of action and reaction. Over here would be the energy of, let's say, momentum. Where does this all go? Remember, this too shall pass. And over here, we're going to look at a moment, the weather. You can think of it as circumstantial energy pervading the whole thing. And you, like we do in the general reports, Pisces, you're going to make the best of the weather. Sometimes people don't like to do that. They don't want to do that. They want things to happen for them. And then if it doesn't work, they blame it on fate. If it works, they say it's fate too. So we'll see. Let's have a look. Okay, King of Swords here. So there's some, let's say, very... What I'm feeling here for you, Pisces, is that during this period, we're dealing with kind of pretty serious reality checks in what's going on in the deep conscious, all the way up to your fully waking consciousness. We've got Jupiter is in Scorpio right now, through your ninth house of higher knowledge, wisdom, consciousness, greater understanding, greater capacity to understand everything from the bigger picture. And with Jupiter and Scorpio there, it's very, very healing. It's very, very benefic, but it's also very, very revealing. It's almost like revealing the deepest, darkest depths of things that need to be revealed in order to be healed in that part of your life. So you might be coming into a sort of a period here where there's a lot of reckoning and truth going on, okay? Also, circumstantially, we've got the big Saturn and Capricorn journey that just begun. And over there in your 11th house with community, the greater picture, the greater environment of your, let's say, your people and your place in that in that community, your friendships, your hopes, dreams, wishes, for all of that, for the goodness of humanity. Reality checks over there. And then in the 12th house, these are awkward energies, okay, for you Pisces, because we're dealing with especially the 11th and 12th house here. We've got the new moon eclipse happening in the middle of February with the Aquarius there, right bang in your 12th house, which is hitting on the collective south node, being reflected back through your world of relationships, but probably in a way that's very difficult to understand. Let's have a look. What about you right here? Okay, well, you're holding on. This is very good. This is very noble. I would say, Pisces, I feel that in some ways we're dealing with a lot of what I would think of as very indefinable, very, very hard to understand, very hard to comprehend and pin down in terms of specifics about what's actually going on in love and relationship. Because with the 12th house energy, that new moon and eclipse there, we're talking about awakenings, almost like shocking awakenings of our self-undoing and how to grow out of that. And sometimes we need to get shaken up there to figure out how we are our own worst enemies in life, in the world. And that's general, but that's going to affect you, of course, in your relationships as well. So if you feel as though like you've been just literally like struggling to hang on and make the best of what you can, that's great. And you will endure. You have the strength, but we also have to understand with 12th house energy. Also, please understand, you've got Neptune bang on right in the middle of your first house, in your solar first house, or if it's your moon or your rising. And so that's beautiful in its own way. It's like your ruling planet. Neptune in Pisces is right there. But the Neptune energy is like some of the hardest energy to understand and handle. In my perspective, even harder than Pluto energy, even harder than Saturn energy, because it's sometimes so indefinable and makes it incredibly frustrating to figure out what's not working. And what's not working with you in particular, if Neptune is sitting right on top of you, for example, and Chiron is there too. So all the deep woundings, all the deep sufferings that you've been putting up with for a long time, but not necessarily having any understanding or words or dialogue to understand why, the whys and the wherefores of all this. It's a big, long transit, 14 years, and we're right in the middle of it. So you're doing really, really well, Pisces. And let's have a look at the other. Okay. Well, with the other, let's note the energy of sacred opportunity here with the Ace of Wands. We're looking at the energy of a significant other who sees opportunity for themselves, okay? In a good way. It could be very innocent. It could be very direct. It could be very passionate here. There could be like an indication, because of Wands energy matching here, of, let's say, goals, missions, visions, challenges, desires, inspirations of what could happen in a relationship, or what should happen in a relationship, is at least being explored or identified. It doesn't necessarily mean anything will be solidified in that kind of manner, but the interplay of energy is happening, okay? And the interplay may be like what I would think of as a tough learning process. In other words, going through very, let's say, hard to understand challenges in the area of significant one-on-one relationship, where from their perspective, it's pretty straightforward. Like, I want to get with you. I think I am good for you. And I think that would be good for me. And then you're left over here wondering, well, what's actually going on here? What's actually going on? Am I in a kaleidoscope of confusion here? Am I dealing with facts and very simple, straightforward stuff here? This is very straightforward and direct energy. This is very unambiguous. With the significant other here, you might have someone right out there who's got the hots for you, Pisces, and that you might think, well, that's great, but like, what does this actually mean? You know, all those like common catchphrases that you might be rattling through your head, like, hey, baby, no finance, no romance, you know that. Or, hey, baby, like, okay, I really, really dig you. Thank you for digging me. But no communications, no relations, whatever it is. So you could be very aware of how potentially, let's say, exciting things could be for you, um, Pisces, but at the same time being aware, very aware of how, let's say, fluid and uh, unstable things can be as well. Okay, so this this energy here is very, very, very much in flux. Okay, very, very much in flux right now. It's probably good to almost like retract, because there's so much energy here of holding on and having had to hold on for so long just to maintain your own vision, your own stability and mission and understanding and integrity. And it's great to have this out there. That's fine. I like new opportunities and everything. But with February being your more or less like your 12th house passage, that's the time for endings and endings and endings for like a year-long transit. And things are going to pick up and change for you much more in March or right at the end of February when the sun moves into Pisces. Okay, so let's keep going. What about deep inside of you? Okay. We have a lot of verticals here indicating what I feel is a lot of stressors. But again, I feel that these stressors are very hard to pin down, very hard to understand, very hard to define. And they are in the process right now of going through this like almost like a filtering process, like a healing process of finding out, like, well, what is it that's going on? What exactly are the problems here? Maybe it's a good time to get, let's say, third-party perspective from a professional, someone who actually understands and knows the situations, understands these dynamics very, very well, Pisces, without any prejudice or agenda on their behalf. And instead, it might be a very good time for you, Pisces, to seek third-party counsel, okay, from someone that you can trust, okay? You might not like what they have to say, or you might not want to hear what they have to say, or read whatever it is, but it could be very, very helpful because you're dealing deep down with this Eight of Swords energy, which for me here as your reader makes me feel as though it's like being lost in a maze. And it's not the end of the world. It just makes it very, very difficult to navigate and comprehend. And it could be, let's say, all the challenges of Neptune when Neptune is not operating at its highest frequencies. It's there, but it's when it's, let's say, misunderstood, it can be very, very hard to pin down and understand what is not working. In other words, you could be living perfectly fine on autopilot and not understand any of this, of what's coming out of Terra Lumination right now. But deep down, deep in your soul, it's like there are lots and lots of little splinters of things that are just uncomfortable and that really truly need healing. It's just that it's very hard to detect them. It's almost like with all these bandages here, it's partly the energy of someone who has deliberately wrapped themselves more and more and more and more in bandage, to the point where that's your identity. If someone looked at you through like some kind of auric filter screen thing, you know, those, whatever they call it, Curlian or something or other photographs, and they look at auras, you know how they shine up, they would see band-aids everywhere. They wouldn't see pink or blue or yellow or anything. They would just see a pile of band-aids, bandages wrapped around, like, because you're so vulnerable, Pisces. That's just your nature. And it's in some ways so difficult to pin down, so unaware of your own vulnerability, that you could have been like automatically, systematically, you know, with all the best of intent and all the best, you know, learning, and however hard you've been investing in yourself to heal yourself, instead of actually doing the healing that needs to be healed by revealing what needs to be healed, we're just continually slapping on more band-aids, more and more and more bandaged, to the point where you look like a mummy. You know, no offense, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but it's difficult to really manifest when we are so smothered in layers and layers of protection and healing that we've, done our best to provide for ourselves in the context of relationship, but we're actually smothering ourselves in the process. It's almost like very, very advanced forms of self-medication where you think you've got it down. Like, I do my 3 yogas a week. I have 1.3 glasses of wine. I have two custom super health cleansing juices, and I have my spiritual classes, and I do all these wonderful things for people, and they love me too. But it's like all very beautifully or choreographed to avoid what actually needs to be dealt with, which are attitudes, perceptions, beliefs, and understandings that are really not serving you. And yet they're very deeply buried inside of you, which makes it very hard for you to do what has to be done to have a happy, loving relationship, no matter how hard you try. Let's have a look deep inside the other. Okay, well, it's like they're minding their own business. Okay, it seems like they see opportunity for themselves here. They're taking care of themselves, minding their own business, investing in themselves, doing what has to be done to build structure and stability. Perhaps if they feel that, let's say, they are in a committed relationship with you, or they feel that it's worth investing in you and in the relationship, then this would be an indication that they're working at it. Okay, it might be very early days yet for this energy to be expressed. We don't know anything about who this is. You'll understand. Even if you're single, Pisces, you're still radiating the energy of relationship, and this is what you would attract by default through the laws of attraction. So please allow for that in the reading. If you're in a long-term committed relationship as well, you might be starting to notice the disparities between yourself and the significant other, where they might not really understand any of this that's going on inside of you, and they're either left on their own just figuring out what to do, how to do it for themselves, still in the context of a loving relationship, but they are kind of off on their own thing here. And it doesn't mean like you're left alone and abandoned, because you've got your own stuff to deal with here. I think this is very much to do with 12th house energy and the new moon eclipse in Aquarius coming here, which is going to, let's say, almost shake you up. Like, say, Pisces, wake up, please. You've got to deal with all these misconceptions, thoughts, attitudes, beliefs, and face them so that you're no longer walking around in a spiritual haze or a spiritual maze, so that you don't have to feel as though you're fighting every day just to get by. You have a right to love and be loved. You have a right to bring all your love in and to receive all the love due to you. Be loving and be loved. It's perfectly normal and healthy. Over here, they might be investing in that, and that's fine too. And they're making it their day job. They might be very aware that you are struggling right now, but they're not running away. They're thinking, well, maybe this is, something that's good for us. Maybe they need to carry some of the weight right now and do some of the work that needs to keep things going while you go through this very, very delicate, very, very sensitive period. So what about the relationship itself? Okay. Well, it feels like with the Nine of Pentacles here, it's creating like a sense of stability in the relationship where it looks like they're taking it upon themselves to carry the weight for a little while, so that so both parties have a sense of themselves as unique individuals in the context of relationship, but the relationship still has a structure and an identity where uh, you get to be more and more you, the more unique, independent version of yourself, and they get to be their own unique, independent version of themselves. And they are doing that deliberately, investing the work, bringing all their talents and gifts, resources, or at least wishing that they could do that, to bring a greater sense of, let's say, structural stability to the relationship, where the relationship is self-sustaining and it has all the ingredients that it needs to endure for the long term. And things go in flux, in waves, back and forth about who's carrying who for now. Maybe it's an old-fashioned savior-victim relationship, or maybe it's a very well-balanced relationship. It's just that right now you might be struggling, and so they just automatically, instinctively feel that, and they take up the slack for now because it might be their turn. Maybe this whole thing will be inverted one day, and you will be the one over here carrying the load and being the inspiration and leading and starting new beginnings for the relationship, getting all fired up and passionate for them while they're going through their own struggles, okay? And that's what happens in the context. It's alchemy. In the context of a loving, healing relationship, both parties nurture each other through the relationship. Let's have a look here. Okay, and exposing what is basically no longer acceptable. My feeling here is that by the end of this time period, we call this February 28th, in the tarot and astrology on these YouTube channels, the convention is that we do it according to the sun sign, or the astrological 12 signs. So it's a construct, but it seems to work really well. So my feeling here is that remember, this is your reading, okay? Pisces, it's not a couple's reading, okay? You can get that. You can go to the channel and get one of those if you really, really want it, but I don't think I've ever done more than one. So let me just put this here a second. I want you guys to see this. So with the Ten of Swords here, my feeling is what's happening is incrementally, almost day by day, hour by hour, everything that is not working about the relationship is going to be systematically, methodically exposed. Okay? And that's a good thing. I'm putting a very positive spin on this Ten of Swords here. My feeling for you is that it's discovering all the things that don't work, that are impediments to a healthy, loving relationship. And it is literally the process of revealing to heal it. And it might be very much to do with the Jupiter and Scorpio thing in your 9th house, which would be all about the greater understanding, the wisdom, the higher consciousness approach to your life and your world, which has, a side effect on the love relationship. So with you, look at all these swords, okay? Look at all the swords. So a lot of it's in the mind, Pisces. So it could be feeling like you've got this very tortured situation right now that is coming to a head. And it's like there's nowhere to hide anymore. There's nowhere to run. It's just all the pressure is building up and up and up and up. And then at the eclipse, in the middle of the month, things start to get exposed. And then when you get towards right at the end of the month, where everything slides into Pisces, the energy will soften up for you and be more comfortable. And you can realize, oh my gosh, it's true. All that stuff that was covered up by bandages finally gets exposed, and you realize, I can't take it anymore. This is not healthy. It's not necessary anymore. It's like popping a huge zit. And then all the stuff that needs to be revealed to be healed can start to be healed. I'm not saying it's going to be instant like flipping a switch. It feels like there's so many like slivers here that are self-defeating, but they're very subtle, they're very deeply buried, and the only way they're going to come out is through a relationship dynamic where someone has, or something, or you've created a reflection from someone else who's willing to be there as a stabilizer while you go through this, because in March everything's going to change. All right, so I hope you got something out of that. Okay, Pisces, and I'll just shuffle this over here so you can have a look. You can reinterpret however you want, and then try to see the bigger picture here, the brighter picture. All right, thank you so much, Pisces. Take care.